everyone, welcome to Arrow Discussions. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Today we're talking about the 4th episode this season. Wow, is time flying. Already on the 4th episode of Arrow this season. And
well, what I want to talk about is how you haven't changed your shirt in a week, and I feel like you're not showing up for work.
Well, it actually is precisely showing up for work. You ever been to a job, Eric, where they give you one shirt, just the one shirt, and then you have to keep putting it into the wash, and the only difference is mine doesn't have a name tag, but yes, this is... See, what I was about to say is, this is my uniform for this show, but then as soon as next time I'm wearing like a Superman shirt or something, somebody's gonna be like, oh, you're out of uniform, Cap. You shouldn't be allowed to punch in. What's that?
I saw I got Dr. Manhattan shirt this week. That's kind of relevant. It's DC.
Yeah, that's all. Well done. You wore a DC
part
shirt.
Of the new 52.
You wore the same shirt on Constantine Discussions, which hasn't been posted yet. So anyway,
that was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and answer some questions and comments from last time.
Soda.
Shall we? Today's episode is The Magician. We'll be talking about that in just a moment, but as we always do, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about questions and comments from last week, and last week's episode was Quartal Maltese. Below61 and many other people said that we didn't mention the Lazarus name drop. I totally missed it. When in the moment, I wasn't even thinking Lazarus Pit, and I guess I should have been, but the way it was dropped, where it was a really kind of natural place to say it. And I know, given that we're dealing with League of Assassins, and that there's already a lot of theories that maybe we're bringing back Merlyn through Lazarus Pit and that kind of stuff. They had to have been thinking it when they did it, but I totally missed it the first time out. Okay, EC Cons. Here's a question I have about this episode. Oliver wants Thea to come back to Starling City. Okay, but where is she supposed to live when she gets there? That's answered this episode. Pretty. Although, I don't know that... Actually, I don't know where she's living.
Do we know who owns his mansion? Did that get auctioned off?
Isn't it destroyed?
Was it destroyed?
Or was it?
It was invaded.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was destroyed.
I thought there was a mention that something happened to it, and it was...
Maybe that happened in the 2.5 comic.
No, probably
really
not.
Be reading that.
Probably not. I honestly, I thought that it got destroyed or just messed up enough that they couldn't. I honestly, I'm sorry. For some reason, I do not remember what exactly happened to the mansion. But regardless, they can't live there because they don't own it anymore. But I'm with you. I don't know. But yeah, so like I said, it's answered because she got the club. She's not living there, and she hadn't even, when she said that, she hadn't even totally bought it out
yet.
She has
money. She could be renting a place. Like she's living somewhere.
Yeah, she's living somewhere. What else? Ralph Hussman, will Thea be using Speedy as her vigilante name? That's a good question. It's going to be interesting to see if she becomes a vigilante or not. And I can see it going either way right now.
Think of that. Roy skipped straight to Arsenal. I didn't even think of the fact that...
Well, Roy's not being called anything yet.
Well, no, but I think the producers said that he's officially Arsenal.
Yeah. But yeah, with her, like... You remember how this whole season I keep saying that I think what they're doing is they're making Oliver accidentally create himself in everybody that's around him, and I feel like that's definitely going on with Thea right now, in the way she's keeping secrets from him, and the way she's kind of leading a double life a little bit and that kind of thing. And it's going to be interesting to see if they go any further with it. If she's like sort of the Arrow in some of her behavior, but doesn't actually go all the way to the vigilante side. Because I think it could get really hokey if every person he knows ends up putting on a costume and goes out and fights crime and or becomes a villain.
That is the risk you run with a superhero show.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point you made.
I mean, I spent the first episode of Flash going, they're a supervillain, they're a supervillain, they're a supervillain.
Yep. TM Smythe, Oliver is his own big bad this season. Quoting me, that's the thing I said last time. So, Oliver killed Sarah? What a twist. I don't think that's what happened. That's hilarious. We'll talk once again, of course, about theories about that in predictions. I think at this point there's only one possible person it could be, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But
yeah, but see, I think that one possible person is also a red herring.
Why? It hasn't even been brought up yet.
Oh, well then I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, all right, we'll get there. I think there's only one way it could possibly go now. But anyway, we'll make you wait on it. What else? Let's look here. Time like 01. I love Felicity not only because she's smoking hot and beautiful, but also because she's a brilliant brainiac. Yeah, there have been some folks that have been kind of questioning her this season and whether or not she's likable. Saw her in Flash last week, and she's just so cool there.
I did not see her in Flash last week, but she was missing from this episode, so I assume that's where she was. I still haven't caught up on Flash.
I can't wait for you to see that. I think you will really dig it. She was a lot of fun in that episode. And in fact,
dig it, man.
Dan and I liked her so much there, and Dan hasn't watched enough Arrow to have even gotten to her very much yet. And so he fell in love with her instantly in that episode. And the one thing we're most disappointed with is that she's not already just a regular there and taken out of Arrow, because she makes so much more sense in that show right now.
We mentioned at the beginning or maybe last season, we mentioned that it would make more sense if she migrated over to that show.
I wish she would. The problem, of course, is that he has to get together eventually with Iris, and they want to make us wait on it, and then kind of, stretch that out and be irritating about it. What do you mean?
Well, if they're going to wait for him to get with Iris, wouldn't having a different love interest for a period of time makes sense?
Yeah.
You went Stacy before you married Jane?
That'd be nice, except for the fact that they want to keep love triangling it with that Fawn guy. So.
Oh, you mean Reverse Flash?
Yes. I mean one of the Reverse Flashes, yes indeed. So anyway.
That was another one. That was a name I said to somebody, and they were like, Reverse Flash?
And now, back to Arrow discussions. Hey, Cap, I have a hypothesis. Everybody's got a hypothesis. This is Adrian Walsh. Hi, Cap. I have a hypothesis. The reaction Sarah gave.
You're being so mean to him.
Oh, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying that so many... Here, what I mean is... Now I got... You know what? I don't have to explain myself to you. Anyway, but I'm going to anyway.
The commenter deserves an explanation.
Okay, fine. So the explanation is... The situation with Sarah's death has gotten everybody really thinking and trying to figure out what it is. I think that's really good. I think that that's something we should praise this season for. I think
a murder mystery.
I think that's cool. It's well, and people people have different theories, so people haven't immediately gone everybody's saying it's got to be this one thing. Now, as I said, we'll talk about it later. I can't see how it's anything but the thing I think it is now that somebody else brought up last week, but whatever, we'll talk about it. All right, the reaction. So anyway, Adrian Walsh. It's okay that you have a hypothesis. The reaction Sarah gave before she was shot was clearly indicative of knowing the person. Yes. What if, while she was with Ivo, Sarah saw blueprints for the Amazo android? What if Oliver didn't shoot the real Ivo on the island, but maybe a clone or android, and the real Ivo was somewhere else? I had considered that in an earlier discussion where we spent 5 minutes trying to remember what the heck Ivo's name was, that maybe Ivo is back. And that's interesting. What if Ivo then built Amazo and programmed it to hunt down Oliver? Do you see the show doing androids like that? I'm not saying it couldn't happen now that we have Flash, but...
Well, word of God being what it is, the producers said this season is going to be more grounded than last season.
So probably not.
I don't think so. But science fiction, well, I don't know. They didn't really do any magic last season, so I don't know.
Lydia Caberos, I understand you guys defending Thea, but until she does something to prove to me she's smarter than this, I still think she's an idiot. This episode didn't help at all to dispel that thought. She's being a complete moron. I hate to say I'm starting to agree with you a little bit after this episode.
I never said she was an idiot. I just said she has enough emotional baggage that we can, on some level, justify her actions.
And my whole thing was, they're being a little bit cryptic about what exactly she's doing. And so,
yeah,
but then
this
episode is very cryptic about it, and that's why I said I'm kind of with you if it's going where it looks like maybe it's going. And Eric, I did not want you to be right when you said last week that it's very possible that they'll say that she's been like working with him all along. And with Malcolm,
the thing.
It's still hard to tell. It could just be that like she went back and she's still sort of a little bit pally with him because he helped her out, but I think there's a double life thing happening here.
They have a conversation on the phone where he says, "Does he know anything?" and she says, "No."
Oh yeah. Well, but all he meant was, does he know that you were with me in Corto Maltese? But it could mean more than that. But it could mean more than that. No, you're right. And then Lydia after that says, "Oh, and I want Captain Logan to read my quotations while waving his hands in the air. Jazz hands, Cap, jazz hands." Yep, that's a thing I do. All right, let's see if there's anything else we want to mention. E.C. Cons, Thea is still working with Merlyn. At the end of the scene where they fight, he says to her, "I'll see you in Starling." I forgot about that and was kind of surprised to see him there this episode. We'll talk about it, but...
Yeah, there's a weird thing that I need you to explain to me.
I was going to say the same thing to you. I hope it's the same thing.
Does it involve a monastery?
I'm sorry, what?
I said, does it involve a monastery?
A monastery. I don't know. We'll get there. Let's see. I'm just reading comments, seeing if there's anything else we want to mention here. Everybody's complaining that you asked the same question that you asked last year.
What? Did I?
I think you did.
I didn't realize. Look, we've come with a lot of questions.
It's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to make fun of you about it because it's
I
kind of
won't
funny.
even do my trivia question this year.
No, you will. And if it's also one you did last year, it'll be even funnier. Casey Kelderman, Cap, here's an idea. Sarah was with the League of Assassins between season 2 and 3. What if Tommy was resurrected during that time and she's already known that he was alive? Oh! Tommy
also,
is...
what are you doing with your life that you can remember trivia questions I asked last year?
Can we move on? Tommy is then sent to kill Sarah by... See, now you're being mean to the commenters, Eric.
I just need to think it out.
Tommy is then sent to kill Sarah by Ra's al Ghul. This would explain her reaction to her killer, seeing as she already knew he was alive and would wonder why he was back in Starling. Yeah. I mean, that could be a thing. On the other hand, I feel like if the League of Assassins resurrected Tommy, given that Ra's al Ghul doesn't see Sarah, we didn't know this before, given that he doesn't see Sarah as really one of them, I kind of think that's a thing that he wouldn't tell her about.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what his motivation for bringing back Tommy, because it seems like Merlyn was excommunicated, so...
I'm going to say this. Yeah, that's a good point to what would be... Unless he wanted to bring back Tommy and somehow, like, recondition him or something to kill his own father, but that seems
Or use it as leverage.
That seems really convoluted to me. But, I mean, we don't want to put anything too far past this show, because it's done convoluted stuff before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so... I don't know. The thing with Tommy, I think, is another red herring. I think they did a flashback with him so that we would think, so that comic book geeks would think, you're doing League of Assassins, you're bringing him back from the dead. At this point...
I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
And I think you're right.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
I think the Tommy thing was a red herring.
Before I wasn't sure about it. Now I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a red herring.
Good.
Anyway, well, why don't we go ahead and go on to general overview now for today's episode. And, Eric, start us any place. Any place.
Do we want to get into how much I hate Laurel?
Oh, wow. Okay, all right, so...
do people finally want my Laurel rage?
Let me say that I want everybody to know that over the last couple of episodes, I had a stand-in, Eric... that didn't, like, it's a guy that looks just like Eric. But that guy did not hate Laurel. And now real Eric is back, and he's got Laurel rage. Okay, what's your Laurel rage all about?
Well, she's still... Okay. I don't want to be mean about the actress. We mentioned this a little bit last episode. she has such a smugness to her. She feels like she thinks she's so entitled to what's happening. Like, she's earned this.
She's just so excited to become Black Canary, and, like, maybe not picking up on the fact that there's a good portion of the viewing audience that doesn't want that to happen and doesn't think that the character deserves it.
And she wears that jacket, and it's like wearing your dad's clothes. Not only does it not fit her, it looks like she's dressing up, which I mentioned last week too, but she's so smug about it. Also, she's wearing a jacket that cuts off here. Did you notice that?
Honestly, every time she wears it, I need a character to remind me that she's wearing it, because it's so small, it looks like she's not even wearing it.
Well, she's wearing a leather jacket that cuts off, like, here. And I noticed it because she's wearing, like a teal shirt. Yeah. So, like, it's very clear it cuts off here, it's clearly not the jacket that Sarah wore, because that's a full jacket.
Yeah.
But Nyssa specifically says you're wearing the jacket Sarah wore. I don't know what that was about. That was weird, because I was like, that's clearly not the jacket.
Not only that, but I gotta throw this out there real quick. That doesn't look like a thing Nyssa would go out and buy.
No.
Because Nyssa was like, I gave her that jacket. I was like, I don't see you at a department store buying that.
I didn't like that either.
Just throwing that out there.
That
was weird to me. I was like, really? She bought that? I feel like that jacket was very Sarah. So maybe Nyssa just knows her well enough. She went and bought a thing that she thought Sarah would like. That okay, all right, fine. Maybe that.
Back to let's just flip flop every episode, because we had this whole conversation, and that I disagreed with, about how Sarah wouldn't want this person that they thought was her killer dead, and she agrees, stops, and realizes she was about to kill someone. And this episode, when we think something different is the killer, she's right back there. Oliver makes the exact same point, and then she says, no, Sarah would want him dead. What?
Yeah, no, good call. I didn't even think about that. I was preoccupied by some other things. You're absolutely right. Good question. Yeah, good thing.
Which is what I said to begin with.
Yeah.
But her mind was changed. And now she's right back to where she was.
And also, the logic is irritating a little bit to me, because it's like, Oliver has really, really good reasons to think that Merlyn's not the guy. And
no one will listen to him.
And what I don't understand is, and here's the, now let me put this in perspective and say that I have never tried to get revenge on someone who killed someone that I was close to. That's not a situation I've ever been in. I've never dealt with that.
I've seen a lot of movies about.
Yes, that's as close as I get, Eric. And so, I don't know if I would be irrational enough to maybe be in the same kind of emotional place. Even so, though, you've got to make me buy that a person has gotten almost, like, unhinged, or they're not quite themselves right now, and Laurel, I just don't know with her. And I'm having this with the season.
Well, this is a little bit different context.
Yeah.
Everyone she knows is murderers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's less of a leap when her sister is part of the League of Assassins, her sister's girlfriend is part of the League of Assassins, her ex-boyfriend used to be a killer but now isn't, and the person that they're going after is not just a murderer on the same level as everyone else I just listed, but wiped out half the town.
And yet we're supposed to be excited about seeing her become a heroic vigilante that's good. You see what I'm saying? I just, by your logic, I should not think that this person is emotionally stable enough to get to go do that, and that she's on the Arrow level of she'll just kill things.
Think she is. Okay, because there's that scene at the end where she talks to Nyssa, and it's such like a to the audience, like Nyssa's like, yeah, you're gonna be great. Like, I was like, no.
But that's my point. That the show thinks it. It seems like I'm not buying it either. But the point I wanted to make is, if
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Birds of Prey, when they had that episode with Dinah and Selena. Is it Selena? Is that her name? Is her name Selena?
Helena. When it's Dinah and Helena, and they have the Fight Club ring, and like it's like the episode where like she proves herself, but she totally didn't at all. Which is hilarious because it's the same character.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious because it's the same character. Anyway, it's still Dinah Lance. That's really funny that you bring that up. Anyway,
I hated her there too.
Okay, so the point I was trying to make is, it seems to me like if there's really good proof that the person you're going after is not the one who really did the thing you thought they did, is there not at least, even when you're like really emotionally upset and maybe even a little bit unstable, is there not a part of you that's going, what if I'm wrong? If I kill this person and then the other killer is really still out there, really you're going to be in that much denial about it, where you're like, okay, I got it. Like, I took care of it. The vengeance is served. And then when that person pops out, you know what I mean? Like...
Well, they kind of address that, at least on Oliver's side, because there's a great... It's a tiny moment, but I think it's Diggle says something about how, like, who cares? It's Malcolm Merlyn. Who cares if he gets killed? Like, yeah. He's a mass murderer, and Roy does this. It's just a nod, and it was such a good nod from the actor.
Yeah.
I almost made that nod my favorite scene because it was just really well done. But like they have this thing where it's like, well, okay, if you're wrong, you're still killing the person that killed, what was it, 520 people?
Yeah, on Oliver's side, but what about Nyssa and Laurel? What I'm saying is they're like, no, it's Malcolm Merlyn. Surely he's the one that did it. Like, if they're wrong, then yes, okay, so they took out a bad guy, but whoever really did it is still out there, and they wouldn't be looking for him because vengeance is served. I think that's kind of silly.
I think it would have been okay on Nissa's side because she would have just left. But wouldn't she still want to find the real killer if she wasn't completely sure? But she seems this is weird.
Why are they sure? But why are they sure? Like what? What I don't get is what exactly killing Sarah gets Merlyn.
Well, and what really, really bugged me was, I
get why they think it in the first place, but then I don't. But then after that, I'm like, but once there's doubt, you got to start trying to figure out motivation. I don't know what his motivation. I mean, I get that, like, he and Roz ain't getting along, but what's the motivation exactly?
Well, and what really bugged me was this episode opens, and I was like, we're going somewhere. Because she shows up, and she's like, she's dead, isn't she? With arrows. Yeah. I was like, she knows something. We're moving forward. She knows who the killer is.
Yeah.
And then, no.
So do you think they're dragging it out on us a little bit?
I didn't feel like that, except for the fact that this episode opens with, oh, this person knows who the killer is.
What I like about it is that we've ruled Merlyn out already. And yeah. I already kind of figured it wasn't him because that was just too obvious. So, I mean, I'm glad they've ruled it out. Okay, here's the thing I want to ask you to explain to me. The thing I don't understand the timetable. Like, I'm a little bit confused as to when exactly things are happening. So, Sarah's gotten word that Malcolm Merlyn is still alive and in Starling City, so she goes back there and lives there in, like, a safe house. And then, later on, she gets killed because she's
Is that
there.
Why she comes back?
Presumably, and that's what I was confused about.
She back until this episode.
No, I'm talking about Sarah.
I know, but you said she comes back because Malcolm Merlyn's alive, but he's not in Starling until this episode. No,
that's what I'm saying is confusing. Because apparently he was, and apparently she was there all that time, like a lot of the time through through at least some of those 6 months. I'm confused by the timetable. We saw him in Corto Maltese, but apparently he was also in Starling and maybe going back and forth, because like they made us think that he was with Thea in Corto Maltese that whole time, but then Sarah gets word that he's in Starling. So she goes to Starling, but then in the first episode of the season, you see how this gets wonky. When you get to the first episode of the season, she seemed to get called up and went to the city when Team Arrow needed her. But I guess she was already there, and that's how she got there so fast. And then the thing is, since we saw him in Corto Maltese last episode, he didn't really have much of a reason to be in Starling except that he's following Thea wherever she goes, I guess. So what I'm saying, one of the things I think is really funny is that everybody that's trying to figure out if Merlyn is the killer is really lucky he was even in the city this episode. We would not have had an episode if the thing with Thea didn't happen last time. Like, it's really convenient when Nyssa shows up.
Well, the thing that I was confused about, because that is not the same thing that you were confused about.
Okay, but do you agree that we're not sure how all that works?
Yeah, I don't know why he would have been in the city before this.
Well, he has that whole thing to Oliver. He's not. He has that whole thing to Oliver where he's like, "This is my city. It was mine long before yours," and I think that's supposed to be the explanation.
I guess.
I don't know. Maybe he's doing something and we just don't know what it is. But
minor confusion we might have mentioned last season.
Yeah,
does he have money? He's dead. Where's his money coming from?
Maybe he just had a bunch stashed away somewhere. Where is that penthouse office that he has? Like, he's apparently dead, but then how does he have that? He has all these places everywhere, and he has in Corto Maltese. He has a whole he has a landlady, or not landlady. That would be someone who owned the property.
Like a maid.
He has a maid. Sorry, he has a maid, and but I think he's maybe going by a different alias or something over there. I don't know.
Maybe, but no. The thing that confused me is they go to that monastery. It looks like it looks Asian. It looks like a monk place or something.
Well, they say that guy's a sensei.
Yeah, exactly. They go looking for him.
And it turns out he's been dead for a while.
And then Oliver sees someone and says, "I see him." And then Nyssa says, "No, I see him." And then it's Merlyn, and we never addressed who the other person was?
No, we did.
Did we? Who was the other person?
Well, I don't think we addressed the... Yeah, you're right, that is a little confusing, because then it jumps back and they go, "No, we found a grave."
Yeah, there's another person there.
Oh.
Also, why is Merlyn there? Did I miss something? Why is he there in that sensei's house, hanging out, meditating?
I guess that's just another place he's taken over. I mean,
he's not surprised they're there.
Apparently, if you are Malcolm Merlyn, you are simply invisible by virtue of being the big bad character the show wants to be invisible, because when he has that line...
He's Luther, right?
When he has that line where, when they're in the middle of when they're in that big public place, and he says, being in public makes you invisible, I'm like, I think it depends. I don't know.
I don't think it makes you invisible when you're in the city that you're a famous terrorist of.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like your face has got to be a face people would recognize.
It's a distinct face,
we're in a year where everybody's got a camera. I mean, that can be true. In that, I questioned it. I don't know.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of kind of confusing things. Let's get to some positives though, because I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, we're talking about.
I did too.
We're talking about complaints. I mean, I really enjoyed this one. I'm confused about a lot of stuff. But I like that Nyssa got an episode to really get to do stuff, because that actress is fantastic. Whatever you think about what they wrote for her, she's really good.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
And I didn't like her last season. And a lot of that had to do with reading a blurb from one of the producers beforehand, but I thought she was really good.
I'm with you. I don't know about the thing with her and Laurel and where that's going, and that was a little predictable.
I did love that Laurel had the exact same reaction as her father to realizing that her and Sarah were lovers, because her dad had the exact same reaction of
oh, and then it's like, and now we'll move on. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, and then the way that played kind of awkwardly, I think, was kind of the way it ought to have played when she was like, "I'm sorry for your loss." See, it sounds really weird when somebody who is family of someone else says to another person about that person, "Sorry for your loss." I don't know.
Yeah, that line should have been something different. It's not a bait complaint, but it was a weird line.
I want to just mention some really random things. Again, we'll talk about some positive stuff, but just, I don't know. I'm looking at some notes here. I don't know where else I'll say this, but anyway, I would say this, so I'll say it now. In the past, in the Chinese stuff, the guy that Oliver is having to stay with, his wife's name is Tatsu. his wife is the Shredder's right-hand man in the Ninja Turtle movies? Wow. All right.
Lower your eyes to an enemy.
Anyway, just want to throw that out there. I think that's pretty funny. I don't know. I think what I liked most about this episode was action stuff. Like getting to see everybody in costume, and this show is always really good for action. But
does Roy's mask look a little off to you?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what it is. There's something like him and Oliver are wearing the same mask. His looks a little bit more costumey than Oliver's. Maybe it's Oliver's hoodie is over, and so it's more shadows. I don't know. He looks a little bit more costumey. I loved Roy in this episode. I thought everything with Roy was fantastic.
I did too. Except my least favorite moment is a Roy moment.
Oh.
But we'll get there. It's so funny because I said a minute ago I really enjoyed this episode, and as we're going through it, I have a lot more negatives written down than positives. And I'm having a hard time saying what I liked about this one beyond just the action was good and it was kind of it was well paced.
Ra's al Ghul looks amazingly like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He reminded me a little bit more of like the second Zod in Smallville.
I'm wondering if we might still get Liam Neeson as an older.
Like if he was a little bit older. Because
Liam Neeson made a public statement that he was totally willing to do this show if they wanted him.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we might get flashbacks to like a pre-Lazarus Pit Ra's al Ghul.
You know what I'm going to say? This one's a fake.
Yeah. He also dresses like the Mandarin. He's got rings and everything.
Yep.
But
yes, he does.
I had something.
Sorry.
Oh, Merlyn calls him Roz. Nyssa calls him Raish.
Yep.
Merlyn calls him Roz.
Yep.
I'm going to stick with Roz because that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
This show has now allowed me to do that.
Although what's funny about that is that if Nyssa calls him Raish, then that's got to be his real name because that's his daughter. So what probably happened?
Like, wasn't Merlyn like his star pupil? Maybe I'm just
it's a good
doing
point you're
that
making.
Because I've been convinced in season 1 he's evil Batman. So
no, it's a good point you're making. I tweeted about that, and somebody else, and I like this explanation, wrote back and said it's probably just the producers trying to comment on it and say you can say it any way you want to.
Oh, see, that's not what I thought it was at all.
Oh, okay.
I assumed it was the guy that plays Merlyn just pronounced it differently and they didn't catch it.
But that's the thing is that everyone's been pronouncing it that way since the beginning. He's not the only person who's ever said it. I mean, Moira pronounced it that way too.
Did she also say?
Yes, everyone everyone in this show who's ever, if memory serves, who's ever said Ra's al Ghul in this show has said Ra's al Ghul. Hers is the first time I've ever heard Raish. The only possible explanation. Eric, the only possible explanation is that John Barrowman, as much of a geek as he is, did not watch enough animated Batman, but the girl who plays Nyssa is a huge fan. That's the only possible explanation.
Maybe Raish is some kind of, like, more, I don't know, like, ethnically correct way to say it, and so, like, she goes by the actual pronunciation, whereas everyone else goes with, the Romanized pronunciation or something like that.
Yeah. Getting back to stuff in the episode, I liked, I liked seeing Oliver have to kill somebody in cold blood like that in the past.
Yeah.
And they're doing a really good job, I think, of continuing to build why he's such a stone cold killer in the first season.
I am waiting for the flashbacks to give us a story.
What do you mean?
And the flashbacks haven't really had a story thus far, and I feel like this every year with the flashbacks.
and that's why I'm not with you yet, because I'm like, we always said that, and then it always showed us where it was going, so I'm not willing to say that yet. And also, I think hold on, let me say this real quick. I actually think that it is going somewhere already, because they're trying to make this a full circle kind of thing and say that Waller was responsible for everything he went through on the island.
which we suspected last season. I loved
but they
that
told
they
us.
brought
That's
back
nice.
the missile launch thing and explained that it was something completely different.
Yeah.
Than what we thought it was, or than what even Fires thought it was.
Yeah, that's good. I am hoping that there ends up being an explanation as to why. Well, no, I guess it's okay now that I'm thinking about it, because I guess it's, okay, since she's responsible for that, that would be the reason that she was watching the island in the first place, and that's why she knows about Oliver, because originally, I was kind of thinking it was a little bit convenient that she pulls Oliver for a job, and the person he kills just happens to be connected to that whole Fires incident. But
I do think I think it was a really easy, convenient explanation of, like, I have satellites everywhere. How do you think I couldn't? I was like, why would you be watching this one guy on the island? What?
I guess all I'm saying is, how come she's got him involved? Because she wants to keep him in the dark and just use him for things. Why does she has probably plenty of things she could have him do? Why does she have him right now involved in things that had to do with Leon Yu? Wouldn't she not want him to be involved in anything that had to do with the island? Like,
and it seems weird.
That's the thing I thought was convenient. So now that I'm thinking about
China.
it, yeah, that still kind of bugs me.
Well, and it's weird that he's staying in China. You'd think an operative that's already dead and can show up anywhere and it doesn't matter, she'd be sending him into different locations, doing different jobs.
Unless everything she's dealing with right now all has to do with things that were somehow related to the island. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We don't know enough yet to really complain about it, but I questioned it. Other stuff. So was hanging Thea upside down really necessary?
Yes, because we had to use that shot from Dark Knight.
Is that why? I thought it was Lex Luthor from the Zero Consequences episode of Smallville.
You know, as much as I like her new hair, it looks terrible upside down.
I was just like, is she really that worried that Thea could easily escape? Like I guess if she knew that she was trained by Malcolm Merlyn, okay. But
okay, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Is the Arrow Cave still located under Verdamp?
It looks like they're still. It looks like they're still operating out of that. And honestly, I thought they were going to go to the other location this season, but I think they're still there.
It's weird that Oliver wouldn't have noticed people at the club moving things. Like, he's like, so what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm reopening the club. Like, I feel like there would have been, like...
Maybe he's got surveillance somewhere.
Well, like, there would at least be people, like, checking sure that everything's still up to code and, like...
Yeah. Well, you know, something I thought was kind of funny when I thought of it is, what if Thea really is living this kind of double life and her father's going to have her doing more stuff, and the whole reason that she's going back to the club is because she has the same idea Oliver does, which is, this would be a great place for an alibi, and then she thinks she can use the basement as her lair.
Well, I guess we should note that she's still completely copacetic with her dad. She's not angry that he followed her.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. It does seem like this is part of some kind of plan.
There's something going on there, yeah. But the thing is, they couldn't have known that Oliver was going to go there when he did, so I still feel like...
This show sidesteps that kind of thing a lot.
I know, but I really don't want it to be like I planned on coming back like this all along. I wouldn't buy it. I mean, like they really played it last episode like Oliver really convinced her to go back, and
I told you there were scenes there between her and Merlyn that, in retrospect, could be bad.
Yeah, but even still, I'm hoping that it's more of a conflict of interest than I'm just straight up playing Oliver. The other thing I'm really hoping, one of the scenes I really enjoyed, at least mostly from Oliver's side, was when they were talking about how they're not keeping secrets from each other anymore, and then we're seeing them continue to keep secrets, and Oliver is asking her point blank about Malcolm. I don't think her look is all that convincing, and I'm fine with that because I don't think she would be great at that yet. Like when he says when he says he's still alive, and she's got to give a poker face that says, "Oh wow, really? He's still alive?" I think Oliver is onto her, at least to some degree. I really hope that he is, because he is too good at reading people.
I couldn't tell if it was the actress or the character, because it was definitely I just got the present that was like the wrong thing for Christmas. Like, I really want Optimus Prime, and you got me Ultra Magnus.
That's a wonderful analogy. Yeah, that's the same look.
And I didn't know if that was intentional or a limitation on the actress.
I think she played it fine. I think that, or at least I'm hoping that I'm reading it right. I think the idea was supposed to be that she is not anything like as good at keeping secrets and lying as Oliver must be by now. And I think that he picked up on it, and that he's trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, but knows deep down that she, because when he talks to Malcolm about it briefly, there's this look on his face like I'm sorry, when he talks to Thea about it, there's this look on his face like it just doesn't make sense that he wouldn't go to her.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I think he's got to be onto that. I think that could potentially get really interesting. How do you feel about about Thea giving Roy the assistant manager job?
I'm interested to see where it goes. Like, I don't understand what the point is.
I don't either.
From like a structural plot standpoint or a character standpoint.
Just to keep him...
Because she's like...
I don't know.
Well, like the whole thing, unless she does in fact know everything that's going on, and she's going to be using him. She's going to be getting information even though he doesn't know it from him.
What if... Is it... Once again, I don't buy this if this is what they're doing. I'm going to throw out a really radical suggestion, Eric. What if Malcolm has told her who the Arrow is and we just don't know it?
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. So that's what you're saying.
Was that she actually knows everything that's going on.
All right.
And she's going to be using Roy for information, and Roy won't realize it, or at least not at first.
And there's this whole subterfuge thing where she and Oliver are both keeping the Arrow fact away from each other.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to mention with that conversation that she and Oliver has, actually, two things I want to mention.
Yeah.
One is, once again, I was waiting for the, our rich is not the same as or our poor is not the same as everybody else's poor.
Yeah.
And once again,
he's got to be amassing amazing credit card debt.
But, well, here's the thing. If she thinks he's poor, and he thinks she's poor, why would they go to a fancy restaurant?
Yeah.
Because they went to a nice restaurant.
And let's not forget that we've seen all of these people in a Big Belly Burger at some point. At least a lot of them. Like, yeah, they could go to a $6 kind of place.
And the second thing is, when she's telling her story, she doesn't say she just gets out of town. She does say she was attacked and someone killed the attacker.
Right.
And that's where Oliver says it's Merlyn. That was weird, right? Like, why wouldn't she just say, yeah, I got out?
A good question. Yeah. She's actually showing her hand too much there. But that might be the writers trying to force in a reason for Oliver to suspect that she knows that she does know that Merlyn's alive.
It just felt weird. It feels like it would have been a lot easier to just say, yeah, I left.
Okay, so I wrote out a bit of a paragraph about Oliver letting Malcolm go, because I'm unsure about it. And I want to just read you what I have here, because I can't say it any more articulately than the way I wrote it. So what I wrote was, Oliver lets Malcolm go just because he says he can escape prison. Now, I get that he doesn't want to kill and won't kill his sister's father, though he doesn't see him that way, and at least theoretically doesn't know that they have a relationship, but he just lets him go? Like, wouldn't the right thing be to keep him in prison as long as possible? Isn't he worse than Batman? And then I wrote, though, he does say that, Oliver does say he's protecting Merlyn in order to get to the bottom of Sarah's murder, so that might be the reason he lets him go, that he's, like, trying to get to the bottom of it and thinks Malcolm might know something about it. But in the moment, it seems like he does it because of Thea, but then he doesn't know that Thea knows Merlyn unless he does know that. I don't know, like...
Okay.
I mean,
so first of all,
he's alive. Anyway.
There's a lot of things in that scene.
Sorry, what do you think?
First of all, again, Merlyn knows everything. How does he know about the prison on the island?
I don't know.
Second of all, really? He can escape that prison okay, he's still stuck on an island with nobody there.
And plus...
He doesn't have a cell phone.
Do you buy that he is... Well, I was going to say, do you buy that he's any more skilled than
Slade?
Than Slade, but yeah, I do. Because Slade wasn't trained by the League, like...
I don't know if he's any more skilled at getting out of prison. Like...
Yeah.
But here's my thing. Okay, let him go. Immediately shoot an arrow between each of his legs.
Yeah.
He's going to be far less dangerous. He's not going to be a threat later. He knows you mean business. Like to me, letting him go completely unscathed made no sense. Just
so
like earlier in the
you
episode,
agree that that's weird?
Yeah. Well, earlier in the episode, we got the same thing where he shot an arrow past his shoulder. I was like, why didn't you shoot it into his shoulder?
Yeah,
I'm not an archery expert, but I'm pretty sure if you take out somebody's shoulder, that's gonna make it difficult for them to shoot a bow.
The bottom line is, this season, I am finding that the show is either not doing a good enough job of communicating character motivations in general, or they want to keep us confused for some kind of reason.
Also,
yeah.
I feel like we have a similar thing with Oliver that we do with Laurel, where let's just all pretend that this is what we legitimately did, even though this isn't how it actually played out when you watched it. When did Oliver become so vehemently anti-killing? Like, I know he had that big moment at the end of season 2 where he chooses not to kill Slade, but like I feel like he's like Batman anti-killing, and I don't feel like that character got there.
No,
he definitely, I don't have to save you.
And here's my thing. The only thing that makes any sense to me is, the only reason I'm not letting the League kill him is because I think he could lead us to Sarah's killer. They do not make that...
And why does he think that?
They do not make that explicit, because he knows everything! That's why! Because he knows about the prison on Leon U. But the thing is, if
the Onion?
Leon, not the Onion. Yes, the prison is at a newspaper that pretends to have real news, but is actually really hilarious. No. Anyway, so...
no one would ever think to look there.
They would never look at the satirical newspaper. Yeah. So anyway, but they would have to make that really explicit and give it, and as you said, give us a reason that he would think that he would know that, because otherwise... Even now, I know I was never real sure what I thought of this, but back when I did my rewind on it. But you look at Batman Begins, even that Batman, who they have somewhat based this whole show on, said, "I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you." I mean, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Like if it's not that, there is no good reason that he wouldn't just let the League have him. Except, again, not making things explicit enough. If he knows that Thea is with Merlyn now, he wouldn't want to take her father away from her. But if he doesn't know that, he's made it explicitly clear that he doesn't see Malcolm as her father, so he wouldn't care about that. I'm very confused about all this. I'm hoping it makes sense as time goes on, but right now I'm just sort of like, characters are doing things that don't immediately make sense.
Can I make a really minor nitpick complaint?
Let me say this real quick. And I feel kind of down because I really liked this episode while I watched it, and now I'm not sure why. I'm just finding so many problems. Anyway, I'm sorry if we sound like we're really hard on it. I apologize. We are. It's just how I feel about it. I don't know. And yet I really enjoyed it while I was watching it. Go figure. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, I have a really minor nitpick. It's just a single line. It's supposed to be like a cool line, and I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. When Oliver's in China, this is in the flashback, when Oliver's in China, he talks about the guy where he's like, he's just buying ice cream. He just looks like a normal guy. And his partner says, the best terrorists always do.
Buy ice cream.
Well, no. It's like they just look like a normal person. I was like, well, that's true for spies. I can't think of a terrorist that, like, Osama bin Laden didn't look like a normal guy. Hitler didn't look like a normal guy. Usually the best terrorists have distinct looks.
Hitler wasn't exactly a terrorist, but yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I feel like that is not true. I feel like the best terrorists have a distinct look.
Yeah. Maybe
the best spies look like just a regular
Maybe
person.
they'd be even better terrorists than they were in the first place if they didn't have a distinct look. While we're talking about odd lines...
The Joker has a distinct look.
What? Yes, but he was also a master of disguise, if you'll recall.
Bane had a distinct... Nobody cared about him until he put on the mask. Look.
It's a good point you're making. Yeah. Okay, anyway. I thought there were... overall, writing was okay this episode. Couple of lines that I thought were really weird. Really strange and awkward phrasing. And the big one was... And you mentioned it, and I'll say the exact line... When Malcolm says, and maybe this is just me, but this one was really weird to me. When Malcolm says to Oliver, "No prison can hold me, not even your one on Leon U." Ugh. That's weird phrasing, right? Your one?
You know what? Now that you say another line.
Not even your one. And also, I've got a worst line this episode. I'll throw that out too in a minute. But like, maybe you're about to say it. But yeah, not even your one. You could have just said your prison.
I forgot about that prison. Why aren't we throwing people in that prison? I thought that was the big setup for last season.
I feel like the best thing we could do right now is throw Malcolm down there and just have like comedic moments where we just jump back to him and Slade like having conversations.
Okay, hey, you remember Daredevil when?
Yes, I do.
When they shoot through Bullseye's hands, he's like, "They took away my hands. Just do that to Merlyn, and then throw him in a prison."
Yeah, I'm really hung up on Oliver won't even try putting him in prison. Like, I won't kill anymore, but even Batman puts the Joker in prison knowing he's going to get out. So you have got to give us a reason for that, and a very, very explicit one. Whatever. Maybe it will become clear.
But the Joker doesn't get out in 3 minutes, which Merlyn said he would.
In any prison? Any prison at all? Wow. Okay. Well, why is he buying that? I mean, like that makes Oliver sound.
Based on that logic.
That sounds Oliver. It makes him sound so gullible.
Based on that logic, if he put him in the prison on the island, by the time Oliver gets out of the prison, he has already escaped. It's just a Mobius loop of Oliver putting. Oh man, I really want that, but like with Benny Hill music.
Okay, so let's go on to best moment, worst moment, shall we? Eric, What was your favorite moment, sir?
Despite all of our complaining, I really liked the scene between Malcolm and Oliver in the crowd. As nonsensical as it was,
it was really well played.
The crap out of that scene. Malcolm was so good in that scene.
You can tell that John Barrowman just freaking loves being in the show and is like so happy that he didn't get killed off in first season. Like I was gullible enough to think that he was. And John Barrowman is famously a huge geek and he loves this kind of stuff. Has it ever occurred to you that the word arrow is in his name? Just want to throw that out there.
In the last 100 years, twice.
My favorite moment was...
No, it never occurred to me.
My favorite moment was Oliver and Nyssa versus Merlyn. That was a cool fight.
It was. It was really cool.
So, once again, because I bet we've taken a bunch of people off by now. Let me say this real quick. Like, we really enjoyed this, but we don't really know why.
No, and one thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if Nyssa's costume changed from last.
It looked totally different. I'm pretty sure it's different.
It looks really cool.
It is cool.
I even like that mouth thing that doesn't make any sense because you can still see her mouth.
It's so. Well, I think part of it too is that if they're going to start making the show, I mean, it already was looking pretty comic book, but I mean, like, I think maybe part of my thing is it's starting to feel weirdly nonsensical. I hope things start to make sense next episode with stuff we're questioning, but. Maybe while we're watching it, we're accepting more stuff because they're going more over the top.
Well,
is that
I think part of it is, a lot of it is the actors are selling a lot of the things.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it. Is I think everybody's kind of bringing their A game, and so like you don't question the motivations of a character as much while you're watching it, because the actors are selling what they're saying. It just happens that what they're saying doesn't match up with what they said previously.
Yeah, it's super entertaining, and then you get to the end and you start thinking about stuff. You're like, wait a minute. What was your worst moment?
What I have written is Laurel. Pretty much every scene with Laurel in this episode. Specifically, I'm going to pick the one at the end where she's punching the bag, which thank God she didn't have the leather jacket on, because I really thought she was going to have a leather jacket on. When she's dressed up in that costume. But that scene where it's just like, oh yeah, you're so tough, you're going to be such a great black... Nope. She's terrible in it. I don't buy it. I'm not buying what they're selling. After 3 episodes of being like, you know what? I see what you're doing. I'm kind of okay with it. No, the actress is too smug. She thinks she earned something she didn't. She's just dressing. It's like dressing up in your parents' clothes. Like, it doesn't fit, and I'm not okay with it.
Eric, my worst moment was Malcolm shows up. I think it's Malcolm in that scene, or was it Nyssa? I'm pretty sure it's Malcolm. Pulls an arrow. Roy feels the need to flip off a car. Gets shot immediately in the neck. I laughed out loud. Hilarious. Roy, buddy, you don't have to always flip off of stuff. I know it looks awesome, but we saw here that there are times where it's just not a good idea. That does not automatically mean you're gonna win a fight. He sees a dude with an arrow, and he takes the time to flip, and while he's flipping, it goes into his neck. Of course it does! This is not the time for flipping!
Yes, it's time for flipping.
Yeah, see, that would have been a good time for flipping. Anyway, that was my worst moment. Out of all the nonsensical stuff we talked about, I laughed out loud at that. Mostly I put that as my worst moment because I wanted to talk about it, but because it's funny. But anyway, yeah. Really? I don't know. And I think the thing is, I've been laughing at the fact that he flips every time he's in a fight already.
I never noticed that until you brought up right now.
He flips all the time, and then he flips off a car, and I was like,
"That's fantastic,
buddy. That was not the time." Anyway, I felt bad for it. So that's why earlier when you were like, I love everything he does in this episode. Yeah, everything except flip off a car to get shot with an arrow. All right, so let's go on to quotes. One of my favorite quotes this episode was, "I almost didn't recognize you without your Halloween costume."
My best line is, and it was mostly the delivery, but when Oliver's like, I think you might have killed Sarah, and Merlyn just goes, how dumb do you think I am?
Well, that's why it makes Nyssa and Laurel seem stupider.
And it also felt like a really, like John Barrowman plays, and I think he's just kind of like this, but it's specifically how he plays Malcolm. Merlyn, maybe it's just because he's British, he's a little cultured, and how dumb do you think I am is such a pedestrian statement.
Wait, John Barrowman's British?
He's in Doctor Who, I just assumed.
I think he's American.
Oh, I just assumed because he was in Doctor Who.
Well, he doesn't have a British accent in that. So if he is, he's faking he's faking an American accent in a Brit. No, he's not British. I'm almost positive.
I just assumed.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Wow.
Regardless, okay. Well, he has this really cultured way of speaking, and how dumb do you think I am is such a pedestrian, like normal phrase. It feels like it should sound awkward, and it's the way he delivers it is like he's just so angry that anyone would even think this. Like, he's saying, how dumb do you think I am? But he's really saying, how dumb are you?
I like how nonchalantly Thea says, it's not my first time being kidnapped.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention, what was she wearing? The suspenders with the half shirt?
I didn't... Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was like a Power Rangers outfit.
That's how we know that she's still working with Malcolm. That's she. He's a Zordon and she's a Power Ranger.
I'm pretty sure Kimberly wore that in season 1.
Okay, so can I give you my bad quote besides the other one I gave you already? Here's my bad quote. Laurel says to Oliver, "I know you're not a killer." Okay, so she's an alcoholic. And even though she doesn't drink anymore, you'd still call her an alcoholic. So wouldn't a person who used to kill regularly still be considered a killer? Like,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I have a hard time with that. You're not a killer. No, you don't kill people anymore, but it just sounds even weirder coming from her recently after she gave up drinking. That's all I'm saying. That was a little bit weird. Also, I love it when Nyssa to Lance says the only objective here is justice, because that's not the most ominous possible thing you could have said right then.
Also a lie.
Yes, because it's all about the vengeance.
I also love
it's all about the
how
vengeance.
just completely cool he is with the fact that his daughter is part of a League of Assassins, and her girlfriend is... He's like, so you're here on League business?
Yeah, and then she's like, just as long as there's no assassinating that goes on.
He doesn't even seem that bothered by the assassinating. He's like, wait, are you going to kill this guy?
Is there going to be...
No.
He does say, he's like, is there going to be any assassinating?
It's like they're traveling salespeople or, like, part of a circus. Oh, I should have mentioned that in content. That was a really good line.
Did you notice any new comic references? I didn't catch. I mean, we had like Ferris Ayers mentioned again, but like was there anything?
I meant to mention, or I meant to look up, and I forgot to. The name that they give Merlyn, I meant to look up to see if that was a comic book reference.
Like Jansen?
It's like 2 words.
Oh, are you talking about with the League or just the?
Yeah, the League name.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't look that up either.
I meant to look that up and see if I was like, I wonder if that's another comic book archer that I just don't recognize the name, or maybe a League character that I don't recognize the name.
The only thing I caught was that Malcolm used the word beloved.
Oh yeah.
Which is a very Talia and Batman thing.
Well, and I think this is the first time we got in this show that Ra's al Ghul means the Devil's Head.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, they don't say Devil's Head though. They just say devil. They just said demon. They said Ra's al Ghul is the demon, and your father is the
it's not the Devil's Head.
Devil. But all I'm saying is head didn't come in there.
Okay.
I don't think that was actually dropped, but I might have seen it wrong. Anyway, well, let's go on to predictions. Obviously, still trying to figure out who killed Sarah. Buddy, how could it be anybody but Sin at this point?
Yeah.
That's who it is. I mean, like I'm going to be really surprised if it's somebody else, and it's going to have to be a really crazy thing to make her reaction make sense. Here's the other reason I think it's Sin.
And her lack of appearance is...
very telling.
Really, yeah.
Here's the other reason I think it. I think that what they might be doing is that Oliver's flashback in this episode is foreshadowing it because he is being forced to kill people against his will. I think that's what happened with Sin. And I think her name is supposed to maybe be a tell. And that's going to be her big sin. I don't know how else you pay that off. Now, I know that she's a comic book character, but I feel like this show is going to want to pay that off in some way, and Sarah was her best friend, and that her big sin is going to be murdering her best friend, and she couldn't help it, she had to for some reason. And I think where they'll go with it is that it is Ra's al Ghul that did it, but for some reason he involved her. That's where I think it's going.
Alright, so my big prediction is at some point this season, probably after being all tough,
is this going to be a joke?
Laurel's going to go into a bathroom.
This is going to be a joke.
And she's going to open up a compact, and there's going to be a frog in there. And she's going to eat it. And we're going to find out that Laurel has been a clone since season 1.
Oh my! And then when the real one comes in, she's like, "Hi, I'm Dinah."
Well, because I liked her in season 1, so I'm assuming sometime between season 1, like maybe after the undertaking, she just left the city.
And this has been a frog clone the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's hilarious. As soon as you started in on that, I was like, this is a joke.
Well, do you have a prediction on how quickly you think they'll be before Roz gets involved? Like, we got a shot of him here, and we get a line, and I liked him.
Oh, I did too.
Presence.
Yeah, sure.
But do you think, we're not going to see him again for a couple episodes, or do you think he'll be involved next episode, or do you think we'll at least start getting to see scenes with him?
I can see it going either way. The thing I'm curious to know is, what he set in motion at the end of this is we're now at war with Oliver Queen. Do they start immediately sending people after him, or does it take a while, or like what is it? And by the way, I did predict that. I said this season Oliver goes to war with the League, and we've already set it up. But I don't know.
I don't know. A little bit.
Of Lemire, yes, I am. I thought that this episode a lot, and it made me dislike the Komodo thing even more, because I mean, like I said, I didn't hate that, but I was with you. I was sort of like, well, if we're gonna do any Lemire stuff, it'd be cool if we could. And then this episode, it was starting to feel a little bit like his run. Yeah. Just setting up that they're going to war with Oliver. I feel like we might get some of that Lemire outsider war kind of stuff. Yeah, totally.
But with the League of Assassins.
Yeah, totally. It definitely feels. Oh, also, isn't it kind of ironic that the big thing that Ra's al Ghul is angry at Malcolm about is that he basically did something really similar to what the Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins did?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I'm wondering, because I guess we don't really know. I just assumed, but I'm wondering if this Ra's al Ghul is not like an eco-terrorist pro. Like Earth, and if maybe they are just killers for hire.
Well, I mean, that would be the distinction between the names, certainly. I mean, there's a reason they're not called the League of Assassins in Begins.
Maybe this Ra's is all about, like, you know, we kill for other, like, you never kill for your own causes. Like you can't trust your own causes because you're not objective.
Yeah, like there's
doing something because he believes in it would be something like that.
I'm interested in what his ideology is, because we really don't. We don't. They've left the League really mysterious, and the only reason that Sarah was even involved with the only reason Sarah was even involved with them is because Nyssa kind of nursed her back to health, and I would be very surprised if we did not get Sarah flashbacks in the League at some point. I think that must happen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I hope so, just so that I get to see Katie Lotz again.
But it is really interesting that's something that seemed very Ra's al Ghul, not just in Begins, but also in the comics.
Yeah, is the very thing that they're like you went too far.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's like you were like you went too far, or if it was like somehow that was against their interests in some way. I mean, we just don't know very much yet.
We don't kill people. That's going too far.
Let's go ahead and go on to trivia questions. What was yours from last time, Eric?
What drug did Roy take? I guess I already did that. The answer is heroin. Hooray.
I think you did do it last time. But anyway, the first person who got that right was Dar over email, so congratulations to you. My trivia question from last time was... name a couple of things, name two things, that Oliver made bows and arrows out of in that hotel room. And Zombie Thing MD said a lamp and his bed springs, and those were two things that were in there, so congratulations to you. And now let's go on to our trivia questions for today. What is yours, Eric?
Hopefully I haven't done this one before.
I'm sorry for calling you out on that.
No, it's not your fault.
Well, I didn't have to say it on camera. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad I now know. I would rather not be a fool.
Go ahead.
But there's a period in the comics where Oliver goes and lives with monks to get over something he did. What did Oliver do that made him go and live with monks?
I don't think you've asked that. That's a great question. My question this time is from the things that happened in last episode that we actually liked. Laurel in this episode has 2 scratches on her face, and where on her face exactly are those 2 scratches? That's the question. Yes, she has just a giant X across her face. If you know the answer to either of our or both of our trivia questions, feel free to leave your answers on Geekvolution.com. Go to the contact page and send them through the form there, and be sure to, in the name section, put whatever name you'd like me to call you on camera. And in the meantime, we'll see you again next week. This was a weird discussion because I was a lot more positive about this episode before we started talking about it.
I was too.
This is so weird that it happened like this. Anyway, I feel the need to say sometimes we did not dog on it on purpose. We did not come into this going, oh man, we hated this one. I mean, like, if we hated one, we'd say, boy, we hated this one. But, like, this one, no. I enjoyed it while I watched it.
You know, my only big issues were really Laurel. And then in discussing it, I was like, oh, no, this doesn't make sense, and this is dumb, and...
Yeah. Weird. Okay, interesting. Well,
at least we're still enjoying the show.
It's good to be entertained. Yeah, I mean, I'm still
excited. Let's just stop talking about it. I think we're ruining it for.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are, and maybe for some other people too. I mean, yeah, because it's like you know, you do a show like this and you say all the negative stuff we did, and you wouldn't figure you'd be excited to see it next week, but I'm excited to see it next week. So
I am. I'm really excited to see. Because we got one sentence, but I really liked Faraz. I thought he had a lot of presence. I'm really excited to see more of him.
Well, folks, thanks for watching. We're looking forward to seeing your comments, and we'll see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.